Geoff McCann, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
Growing up as a kid, was there music in your house? Was anyone a musician?
Oh yeah, the family's been musicians for, I'm the third generation musician. So my father was a bass player, also played cello, and my grandfather was the organist at the St Mary's Cathedral in Hobart. And unfortunately my children never bothered to take it up. They've just sort of decided to do their own thing, and that's why I've sort of decided to close my business, because there's no one to pass it on to, which was a bit unfortunate. But
let's go back to the other end, 1881.
1881, my grandfather first started selling instruments in Hobart, and I remember seeing an ad in one of the newspapers which he'd sort of collected and put in the archives, where he was actually changing or offering to exchange a piano for a plot of land or a block of land, and because he was right into real estate as well. I thought that was rather amusing, that one way to move a piano was to sort of accept a block of land for it.
So where was the original McCann's
Island
business?
Oh, the business was just in Hobart. We've always been in Hobart. We've had a couple of different sort of sites in Hobart, but the 180 Elizabeth Street in Hobart, they were there for quite a long time. Then in 1935 my father bought the building which we were in, and we've been there since 1935 up until April this year. And I sold the building to the university 5 years ago, and they decided then that they would look for another tenant to replace me, because my time had come where I wanted to step aside altogether. So they found another tenant to move into the building in April, and that's when I had to move out. So I've taken whatever remaining stock I had left home, and I've got that stored in the shed at home and in the house. Yes, it's been known as the McCann's Corner on the corner of Elizabeth and Melville Streets since 1935. And it's been a lovely old building. I don't know whether you've ever seen it at all, but the address is 141 to 143 Elizabeth Street, and it's basically an icon in the Hobart landscape.
So what kind of services was McCann's offering in 1881, and then how did that change leading up to 1935?
That's a good question, but I don't really have the answer to that, because I wasn't around, of course. And my grandfather sort of, to my knowledge, never kept any notes of the history at all at that stage. I just know that pianos seemed to be the main item of stock at the time. And as I said, he played organ up at the St Mary's Cathedral for quite a few years. And after he died, my father took over the business. And my father, as I said, he started stocking just about everything and sundry. We sold furniture, electrical, floor coverings, not to mention the musical instruments, of course. And when I started management there in 1974, I actually had a record bar as well, because when I left school I went straight into the record bar in 1965. But that was the first department I closed when I became manager. When my father died, my uncle Len took over, and then he had a stroke and eventually had to leave the business, so I took over management in 1974. And at the time I took over, the business was actually losing money on a monthly basis. We had a big staff, I think it was 18 on the staff when I started there, and all these different departments. So we weren't really focused on any one particular area. So I spoke to the accountants, and they sort of said, best idea was to scale back down and regroup, so to speak. So I closed the record department, and as time went on, then I looked at each individual department that we were selling, got rid of the floor coverings, then I got rid of the electrical department. We were selling TVs and transistors and that sort of stuff. But then we had a piano workshop up on the first level of the building, and there was about 70 or 80 pianos up there waiting to be reconditioned. And of course we had to have piano mechanics and tuners on staff to be able to do that function. And I checked out the cost analysis of all that, looking at the cost of what it cost us to restore an old piano and the availability of old pianos that were worth restoring, because a lot of them were reaching an age where you think, why would you really bother to try and restore this old piano? So I decided I'd close the piano workshop down. In doing that, there was quite a few staff that I had to put off, or some of them, of course, I offered positions within the company in other departments. And then the furniture department was the next one to go, because we had a lot of staff associated with the furniture department, plus a delivery truck. So I moved that away and just focused on musical instruments. And it was the best thing I ever did, because we've proved to be very successful over all the years of just selling instruments. So that's where we were at the end of the whole era. We're just selling instruments.
Yeah. So you were a bass player, so you went with what you knew.
Yeah. I originally started on guitar actually, but then I formed a band and we couldn't find a bass player anywhere. So I thought, oh well, I'll take up bass. And it was easy to get another guitarist. So I've been playing bass ever since. It's been a passion. I mean, I just love the industry. It's very rewarding. Introducing people to music and instruments and seeing them flourish. And we're very proud of the fact that we've helped so many local or Tasmanian customers get involved in the industry and in music.
So what kind of customers were you servicing when you first started managing, and how did that change over the years?
Well, the type of customers, we sort of had all age groups come and shop there, because of the fact that when I took over we were selling all the other items, the furniture and electrical and all that sort of thing. So we had different people of all different ages come in to shop. But even when I sort of closed down those other departments and just focused on the musical instruments, the type of people that were shopping with us was up until the very end. They're all ages, because a lot of people retire and just take up music. Of course, on the other spectrum, the kids are leaving school and wanting to take up instruments. So it's just basically selling to everybody and sundry. And because we've been around for so long, I mean, we're serving generations of families. And they just sort of had faith that McCann's would be there and they'll look after us, and we did.
Did you offer music lessons? Did you service schools?
Up on the first floor again, when I closed the piano workshop, we had a big area that needed to be filled. So I built some studios, music teaching studios, and started running my own music school up there in conjunction with the sales side of things. That built up to a point where it was just taking up too much of my time, because there was a lot of students passing through each week. So the Hobart College of Music, they were basically not too far away from where we were, and they had to relocate their business, and they approached me and I said, look, this could be a good idea for both of us. If you come into my building and take over my music school, I'll rent you the studios, and you can run your business as the Hobart College of Music. And so we amalgamated the two music schools, and that freed me more of my time up then to focus more on the sales side of things. And the music school was very successful because they employed all sorts of teachers to teach all sorts of instruments. So yeah, that was a good move.
On the mainland in the 70s and 80s, the live music scene was thriving. Was there much of a scene in Hobart?
There was. Mainly, I think the 60s was probably the most vibrant time for the Hobart scene. There were a lot of bands around at the time that were getting plenty of work through the pubs. But of course, once poker machines came on the market, a lot of the pubs dispersed with live music, and the music scene sort of deteriorated quite a bit to that extent. But I believe now it's just starting to flourish again. Of course, COVID didn't help the situation either. That made it very difficult for a lot of musicians. But I believe that the music scene now is regaining strength, and I feel sure that it will prosper going forward.
Tell me about some of your more memorable days at the shop. Any interesting customer experiences?
Oh, there'd be many of those. Nothing really flies to mind as a specific instance, but we had a lot of customers that were sort of more or less loners. That I wouldn't call them sort of street people, but they were obviously unemployed, and they'd come in and they'd want to buy instruments. And we were running our own finance over these years, so I'd take a punt and give them some credit, and invariably they didn't let me down. They paid their bills. And again, those sort of people just they wouldn't have had a chance to get involved in the industry unless they had that helping hand. So I was pleased to sort of do that. And of course, we've had quite a few different salespeople work for me over the years. One of them owed me some money, and he couldn't pay the bill, so I employed him. And he's on the understanding that his wage could go towards paying off his account with me, which he did. And then he became quite an asset for the business. And going forward, he's actually, got his own business now, selling instruments. So that was a fun sort of fact that. Unusual circumstances, but it was to the benefit of both of us. It was really good.
So what were the factors you were looking for in people when you were hiring staff?
Mainly people that could relate easily. If I didn't get the vibe that they were people friendly, I didn't have much interest at all, but people that could communicate well, and also needed an ability to demonstrate with some confidence. But I established myself over the years that you don't have to be an expert player to be able to sell musical instruments. You just need to have a good knowledge of the instruments and a little bit of ability to demonstrate the instrument that you're trying to sell. So again, I look for that in my staff. My assistant manager was with me for well over 40 years, and most of my staff, they stayed with me for a long time. It's if they didn't cut the grade, then they didn't sort of stay very long. But most of my core staff, they were with me for many years.
Any well-known musicians come through the doors?
Oh yes. Tommy, Emmanuel and Phil, they used to come in from time to time. And Ronnie Burns, of course, and actually Billy Conley came in when he was over. And there's numerous other musicians from different bands that just come through the door, have a look around. A lot of them didn't buy much, but they just came in for a look. Yeah.
Did the job lead to much travel? Like, did you attend NAM shows?
Oh yes, yeah. I went to NAM quite a few years. Also went to Frankfurt to the show there, and in China went to the Chinese trade shows. Winston Foster from Foster's Music in Burnie was a great friend of mine, and he used to accompany with me on these trips, and had a lot of fun. You know, it was absolutely a fantastic experience. And our good friend Kevin Haig from Australian Music Supplies would sort of organise us to be part of his team to be able to get the pass to get into the show. We'd be on the lookout for different things that we would suggest to Kevin that, you know, maybe you should have a look at stocking this or stocking that. So it worked quite well. But yeah, I loved the trade show, so it was really good.
Yeah. I think you touched on it before, but the COVID years, how were they for the store?
Actually, it was a real bonus for the store. People had to stay at home, and they must have decided, let's learn to play a musical instrument to give us something to do. So business boomed during that period. It was like Christmas trading all over again for the whole period. So a lot of the musicians decided to try and do some home recordings and things like that. So that type of product sold out fairly quickly, and then a lot of our suppliers were caught short because they just didn't have the stocks. But general musical instruments, they were firing on all cylinders, and we had a great business time throughout that period.
What about technology in business? How has that changed things since you first started?
Well, obviously, when I first started back in '65, organs were just coming into their own. Everybody wanted to learn to play an organ or a portable keyboard. So over quite a few years, we were selling lots and lots of those, but now you can't give them away. It's not many people around now that want to have a home organ. They're sort of more for the digital pianos and digital keyboards. And of course, the technology into amplifiers and things like that, they've expanded the capabilities of amplifiers through technology, and a lot of it sort of leaves me behind because at my age it's hard to keep up with sudden sort of changes in technology, but I'd employ staff that would be experts in that sort of area.
Yeah. So we touched on it before as well, but what were the factors that led to your decision to close up shop?
Just my age. I'm sort of 75, and I've been retired for the last 12 years, and I let Rob Daft, my assistant manager, who'd been with me all these years, to run it. And 3 years ago, he decided to retire. I was going to close the business at that point, but Will Harris, my guitar sales guy, said, "Can I have a crack at it, please? I said, I'd love it." And I said, "Okay, we'll see how you go." So he's run it for the last 3 years, but I've been thinking going forward. I mean, particularly after I sold the building, I had to sort of keep in mind that sooner or later I'm going to have to deal with either selling or closing the business. So I decided that, you know, being a third generation sort of salesperson in the business, that I would have hated to have sold the business as a going concern and see someone, whoever bought it, maybe tarnish our reputation over the years. And I thought, I don't need the money. I'm quite happy to just close it down and walk away. And the comments that we received, mainly on the Facebook pages and phone calls, people emailing me, they were all devastated to see that we'd decided to call it a day. But the time was right, and I'd been thinking about it for quite a few years, of course, but you get to know after a while that the time is right, and I was comfortable with the decision. So that's how it all came about.
How do you see the future of music retail in Australia?
Challenging. Obviously, the suppliers are finding it difficult, so they're trimming the margins down on the retailer. Customers are getting more aggressive with their pricing for discounts. So at the end of the day, you have to sell quite a lot of product at minimal margins to be able to keep the doors open. And it is a real challenge. So again, I think I don't have to worry about that now because I'm retiring and it's not my problem anymore. But I do feel for the smaller independent dealers that are really finding it challenging. I'd like to think the future was really rosy, but with wages going up, this is the beginning of July, and there's been wage increases again passed on to the employees. So it's all challenging for the owner of a music shop, and some of the bigger retailers in America are closing their doors, and a lot of that sort of trend will pass, around the world as well. So yeah, best of luck to them. I think it's going to be a challenge for them going forward.
What was the best thing about running a music store?
It have to be seeing the customers flourish and come, repeat business. Customers coming back saying how much they love the instrument that we sold them, how well they're progressing with their lessons, or their playing ability if they weren't having lessons, and how much they enjoyed being involved in music. That's the single most rewarding thing. But obviously, again, too, it's been a very successful business over the years, and we've done very well financially from the business. But it's just seeing other people enjoy their purchases and learning to play music it's been an absolute joy.
Do you still pick up the bass?
I do, but in the last, since October last year, I've had to stop because I had the business to deal with. So I sort of I haven't played because of that, but I'm looking forward to getting back into it again, hopefully towards the end of this year when I've moved the rest of my stock that I've got. I'll have more time on my hands, and can't wait to get back into it again.
So when you're completely finished with the business and all the stock's gone and you're sitting back with your own time, what would be your strongest memories of your time at McCann's?
The people that have become lifelong friends, the staff mainly that I've employed over so many years. I'm still seeing them. I actually started a musicians club back in 2015. We meet once a month at a hotel, and no music's played at all. We just get together, we have a meal, some drinks, I run a quiz, and they're all musicians around my age group, and they've been in very successful bands over the years. We all get together and have a great time, have a good laugh. So keeping in touch with these musicians, plus my past staff, is sort of what I consider to be one of my best benefits in having been involved in the whole industry.
Well, Geoff McCann, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, Greg.